Okay, the video store is open, and my name is Eli. I'm one of the co-owners of the Top Shelf Video.
And that would make me Jaime, the other co-owner.
Yeah, and this is our thing. This is our podcast. This is our store. This is the Top Shelf Video Store. This we're kind of getting back to some of the I guess you could say like some of the core memories, the things,
childhood memory,
the things that sort of like were how do you this is going to be the old version of me saying that. What is it that the kids say? Lives pseudo apartment free in our heads, or not?
Oh, rent
free, apartment free. Yeah, whatever. They're paying some rent. I will say that, but thinking about movies that have inched their way into our brains, and I think there were a number of those that we did last year, and you were up here not too long ago, and I was playing you something that was kind of funny from the local radio station where they were talking about it was because recently, I guess, unfortunately, we lost the 80s, or I guess you could say like 70s, 80s, and partly 90s icon of Walker Texas Ranger Chuck Norris, or Charles Norris, I guess. Man, he was like in his 90s, right, when he passed. We were when you were up here, I was laughing because I was telling you that I was listening to, of all things, like I listen to when I'm working. I don't always have like podcasts on because I can't necessarily work and listen to something of interest because I'll lose focus and I won't hear what's happening. And that's because I work from home. And so sometimes a lot of times I'll put on like the local talk radio or the sports talk radio, not so much because I'm a big sports fan, but having background noise of people talking kind of feels like being in an office, or I don't know, there's something about it. And on top of that, like the sports radio station here in particular, which I think I've told you in the past, like I think they know, like, you can only talk about sports for so long before it gets boring to everybody. Because I mean, how many times can you say like that, like the way that the Cowboys get better is to play better, like, or to get better players and execute better. Like that becomes like, at a certain point, it's just like, okay, we're all saying the same thing. So they
everybody already knows it. Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely will fill in their time with cultural touch points or whatever. And so when Chuck Norris died, they were talking about, funny enough, how one of the guys on there, who I guess is like in his probably like mid 50s, I'd say he's like 55 or 56, and he was talking about he remembers watching this movie of Chuck Norris that was super awesome, and that he watched
nobody
it.
Talks about.
Yeah, nobody talks about, and he was like, man, like I remember watching that as a kid. And so what they did for one of their shows on a Friday, I guess kind of their Friday fun, just goofing around segment, they all watched Silent Rage, yeah.
Yep.
And so it was just kind of funny because I was like, no shit. Like I thought that would be something that only you and I and a handful of other people, but then it turns out no, there's other people. And granted, nobody else on the radio station on that particular show had watched it except for that one guy. So they were all like, yeah, we should watch it, and then we'll talk about it on Friday. And it was funny because everything they talked about was very similar to what we talked about, and how it did not translate from being a young person to now, but at the same time, like the parts that we didn't remember that we watched, or that we remembered in second viewing more recently, was like all the goofy stuff, like all the weird, comical / romantic stuff that we were like, what the hell's all this? Like, I don't remember any of this
garbage.
Yeah. And so I thought it was kind of funny that they brought up a lot of the same points that we did. And it just kind of had me thinking, because I know when we like the movie we're going to talk about today, from 1981, Time Bandits, and you had mentioned, you were like, man, one that we should do is like Time Bandits, and I was like, yeah, we should do that. And I remember there's so many visuals about this that I remember. And much like Silent Rage, there's a lot that I remember because it was like, it was iconically strong that it made an impression. And especially at this age, because I guess what we would have been somewhere like probably by the time we saw this, we were probably closer to like, or at least I would have been closer to like 8. So you would have been like 10, 11, or we were in that range somewhere in there. So very like impressionable. It's funny because this movie's rated PG, and much like Silent Rage, when Silent Rage was over, it's like, okay, the parts that I remember really vividly were there, and then all the other stuff really like kind of floated to the top of like, what the hell was all that? Like, and it added like something that I guess makes sense as a kid, right? Like you would tune out a lot of those things and you wouldn't think about like some of the comedy and the goofiness. What we cared about in Silent Rage was like the kung fu and the crazy guy who just can't die, and like the goo and the all the big moments. And when I watched Time Bandits, I felt like the exact same way of like, there are some super iconic things in this movie. And then a lot of the other parts, I was like, what the hell? Like, I don't remember. Like, I don't remember some of these parts. Like, and it's really, really interesting, I guess, because, so I guess as a young person, I had no idea that, and I guess, because, I would say I think we got more into Monty Python, or at least I did, the more I got into junior high and high school. But
we were too young for. I didn't realize that this had Monty Python overtones to it.
Yeah, this is the Monty Python guys, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but we didn't know that. I didn't know. I wouldn't have been able to, like John Cleese and Terry.
Terry Gilliam.
I don't want to chew up his last name. Gilliam.
Yeah.
I knew those faces, but I wouldn't have known that they were part of the the troupe. That came later. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this interesting, right? Because I would never have tied this to like the Holy Grail in this, even though like the Holy Grail came first. But it's just kind of interesting because like looking at the so Terry Gilliam, as I got older, and also like as I guess I was saying, like it's like it was like almost like a junior high rite of passage to start becoming more like you pick your taste of the things you like, and then like I remember watching the Monty Python Search for the Holy Grail, because I think you're starting to learn more in history, right? Even though like that's not even real history; it's just like it's lore, but we are learning more about history and the medieval times and stuff like that. So like as like culture and schoolwork started to cross over, and it was almost like these guys were making fun of the schoolwork that we were supposed to be paying attention to. And I think Time Bandits falls in that same category too, as we'll talk about in a second. But it's just kind of funny that I feel like those were like important touchstones for us as kids, or at least for me. As I watched this movie, I was like, oh, these memories are starting to flood back of things I remember about this movie. But as I got older, I got more interested into some of like the more abstract movies and things that are just kind of interesting. Like Terry Gilliam, who's like one of the very few, if not he's the only American of like the Monty Python group. Like he was born like in the Midwest, like of all things. And it always kind of blows my mind too, of like, this guy is like Dad's age. He's actually older than Dad.
Right.
And it always makes you think that like, man, that was somebody's dad. Like our dad, obviously had a very different life growing up, being drafted and growing up, in the deep South of Texas. But like, this guy's like older than Dad. And this guy's like weird, as far as like, his thought process and everything, because he's probably most, I would say, I mean, there's a few things he's obviously famous for, but he directed, or I believe he was a co-director on Monty Python, then the Holy Grail. That was like one of the first ones there, but he's probably most well known for like The Fisher King, because I believe that was nominated for an Oscar, or at least I think maybe Robin Williams was nominated for an Oscar. It's a good movie. It's a very like very different movie. It's nothing like this, obviously, but he did 12 Monkeys, and I don't know if you've seen that, but that movie's like trippy.
No shit.
Yeah, so he directed 12 Monkeys. He directed Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which is super trippy.
I know of that one, yeah.
And then I think Brazil is the other big one that he's kind of known for, which is like you definitely like have to like the weird sort of out there style. And then I want to say the last movie of his that I may have seen, I can't remember if it was this one or not, but it's like The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. Maybe it was that one or another one. But I guess all that to say, like, his movies are very like out there. Like they are big. Yeah. They are big idea movies, and they're very unapologetic. Especially if you watch something like Brazil. Same for like 12 Monkeys and some of these other movies. This movie is definitely one of those, and.
Yeah,
I know we'll go back to season 1 of like, man, they just don't make movies like this anymore. They sure as hell don't for this one. What are some of your like thoughts or impressions as far as like why you were wanting? Because I remember you were pretty stoked. You were like, we should watch the Time Bandits, and I was like, yeah.
I was pushing for this one pretty hard, and it's been on the list since we first started, talking and having conversations about this podcast. I was like, in my head I was already like, okay, Time Bandits and Beastmaster, and like it was on the top 5 of the first things that came to my head, and I think it was just, I don't know, it was just something about this movie. I just remember, like this. I didn't remember all the details, like you said. A lot of it was kind of hazy. I remember some of the main scenes or whatever, but I just remember a kid having an adventure with little people, and I just remembered the pirate ship. I remembered that scene, and I think that was what kind of like the visual. Just I was already into history by this point, and so like going from Napoleonic stuff, and then jumped into like the Greece, and then Robin Hood, and and
then we're like world. Like there's a touch of World War II in here.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of it was like the historical aspect of it. I mean, mind you, it was
fictional history, but
it was fictional, but seeing like the different, like being able to jump from one world to the other in time and all this stuff. I mean, I guess the science side, but like the different parts of the movie where it was historical based was fascinating to me. I mean, because it certainly wasn't. I mean, because when you're young, you don't know what satire is when you're that young,
right?
You have to be grown up enough to understand society and the because satire is just social criticism, right?
Yeah,
and just and we didn't know that we didn't. That comes as you grow up.
Yeah, some of those jokes fall on deaf ears, like in Monty Python when they're talking about like, I'm the king, and he's like, I didn't vote for you. He's like, that's what kind of
who made you the king?
Yeah, what kind of society picks a man? Blah blah blah. Like it was definitely funnier when we were older, but as a younger kid, I was like, I don't. What?
Yeah, we didn't get it. I was like, we were laughing at how do you know he's a king? Oh, he's covered in shit. We would laugh at that,
right?
Because that was funny to us.
Right.
That was a quick one-liner. Whereas when the guy starts going into social oppression, blah blah blah, and we were like, I don't get this.
Yeah,
shit.
I don't know what's going on.
I'm gonna go get some pizza,
and I feel
we'll come back.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. I feel like there was some of that in this, like a decent amount for a PG movie. It was kind of interesting.
This was pitched as a kids movie, and it's just like, I was reading up on some stuff because we're talking about some of the other movies that Gilliam did. So he referred to Time Bandits as the first of a trilogy of imagination, and because you referenced Brazil, so it was Time Bandits, Brazil, and The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. Was the 3 movies that I guess, I don't know, all kind of in this crazy imagination of his. So but of course, when we were young and saw this for the first time, I was I no idea who Monty Python was, none of that. All that came later. But no, I just wanted to see. I just remember the little people being just fun and crazy, and they took a kid along for a ride, and then I remember the pirate ship. I don't remember shit about the end.
Yeah.
So it was weird. Like that whole ending sequence, I was just like, I don't remember this.
Yeah.
I remember the pirate ship.
I'll be honest. Like I don't remember. I don't remember much about the Supreme Being. Like until
that part of it, that part of the plot, I didn't remember any of that.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of jump into some of the things that resonated or just this kind of sequences, because like you were saying, I mean the premise of the movie, and again, I meant to add that I took a look at the Psychotronic video guide. I was a little disappointed that this movie again is not listed in the Psychotronic video guide, which
that's crazy.
I find that like really weird. So yeah, I guess IMDb has it listed as a young boy accidentally joins a band of time-traveling dwarves as they jump from era to era, looking for treasure to steal. I mean, that's as straightforward as it gets, and that is exactly accurate. I love the idea and the premise of this. Like, the more I was thinking about it as I watched it, and then I was thinking about when we were going to talk about this, because I know you're a big we're both kind of board game players. I think you're probably a little bit more than I am right now, just because you have more in the household that can play at any given time, and I'm still trying to get the dogs to fully understand how board games work. But it all I kept thinking about was like, man, this would make an awesome board game. Like you're jumping, from era to era, from period to period. And part of your goal is like to steal, like, to collect treasure and or bounty or, things like that. And, like pretty early on, it was funny because like speaking to the social satire and how the movie sort of starts, like zooming in from space and then sort of into a suburbia neighborhood, which is now the norm of the 80s, right? Like there's now a shift in how, I guess, like the world is sort of is growing at an exponential rate. And so I don't know if there was like a take on that, but there definitely was, because of the beginning with the parents, and then the first thing that caught my eye, and it's funny because I think I saw like a YouTube video for this, but it was like the plastic covers for couches, because you remember how like Panchita or grandma, grandma had
plastic.
She had plastic covers on the couch because the couch couldn't get dirty, and it was on the couches and some of the chairs, and it was just like the weirdest thing to see. And it almost seems like very like who thought of that, and that's about as strange as when they were putting what do you call it, like carpet on toilet seats and stuff like that. It's like, why would you do that? Like, what is the point? But like the social commentary at the beginning of the family, like watching TV, sitting on couches that are covered with like plastic covers, and I think they're like making TV dinners or things are automated, and there's like, they're already talking about like, the future is going to be like automation and this and that, which
it's all kitchen gadgets and all kinds of shit.
Almost like the what was it, the Home Shopping Network version of what would eventually become right, of like consumerism and all this stuff. Like it was interesting because, like, I mean, this sort of speaks to when people talk about like the brilliance of a director or whatever, but man, Terry Gilliam was thinking way ahead, because he's like, this is where like society is kind of going, and we're going to lose out on some of these things. And so the fact that this quickly turns into a kid adventure movie, I thought was like, I honestly kind of forgot a little bit about the fact that it was like a kid adventure movie too. I remember the little people, and I remember like their outfits. I remember the ship and some of the various like places that they went, but I kind of forgot about like that whole opening sequence where they come out of the closet and they're basically like jumping through time portals, and they make it into the kids' bedroom. And it's like, I mean, I can see that being scary for some people, but like for some reason, for like us, instead of us being scared as kids, like we're like, dude, adventure? I'm on board. Like, what's involved? What do you need us to do? Like, that was always the thing that you would be most excited about, is like, if I put my head under the covers, like, is there like another world underneath the blankets? And I feel like this movie like really taps into that, like, that aspect of imagination, but it also does it in a way. And this is where I say, like, they just don't make movies like this anymore. There is no explanation for any of this. And I love that. Like, I love that they just kind of, you're just in it. Like, these people, these little people are coming out of my dresser, and they're dressed in a certain way, and they're like, have a map, and they talk about like that it's a portal. I mean, you have to put a lot of this together yourself, but I like that because I hate modern movies that go out of their way to very much explain point by point of what and why, you know, like they would have to explain the science behind how these time portals work. I don't give a shit. Like, I just care that these adventurers came out of the closet. It's a thing. Yeah. That whole opening sequence was pretty awesome. Like, I really, really like that, you know, because for a minute there, I was like, wait, what the hell's going on? Like, did I miss something? Like, this really moved really fast. And then the first thing, before you know it, like, we're already in Napoleon era, like, wartime in France, or in Italy. Yeah, they're in Italy.
Yeah, in Italy. Yeah.
And then within that sequence, they go about explaining that they are, like, through context of what they are saying, and also as a viewer, you're understanding, like, okay, they just jumped to another time period. And I mean, the movie's called Time Bandits. And then they sort of talk about, like, oh man, Napoleon has a lot of good stuff. And like, and so they just, like, it's up to the viewer to piece together, like, oh, like, these guys are thieves, you know, and they're bandits, you know, and hence Time Bandits, you know. And I really, really like that about the whole opening sequence. I mean, it gets a little like, I mean, I don't know what you thought, but like, I felt like it got like maybe for a PG movie, it does get a little like deep for probably like the whole Napoleon thing and some of the, like his whole spiel about how like all the great emperors were short. And it's like, okay, like that's, as an adult, I get that joke more because of the Napoleon complex. But as a young, I remember as being young, I didn't like, I wouldn't have, that probably flew over my head. Like, I was like, why does he care that, like, you know, cause I don't think that was something that we covered in history class all that often about the fact that he was short, you know? It was more about his.
I don't even know that we were more, I think at that age in elementary school, I don't know how much world history we're actually doing. Yeah. I mean, you know who Napoleon is, but
it's more about his conquests and things, not about him, the person. Yeah. That was when we got older. But yeah, I mean, that sequence was all fine and all, but it was like in rewatch, I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting this joke like now, cause he's talking about Attila the Hun and all the great conquerors. And he was like 5'2", and Genghis Khan was like 4'9", and like, I guess he was just trying to find his place in history, right? And it was just like, okay, like that's a pretty good joke, you know, like or it's pretty good comedy in there. I will say I love their outfits. Like, I love the outfits of the little people and the you know, just like they're almost like a steampunk kind of. Like, I don't know how to describe what.
Well, some of them were. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but it seems like they all kind of picked in, like, from the different eras in time that they were in, because, you know, one of them looked like a Civil War-ish.
Oh, that's right.
You know, I mean, like,
he had like
they had different. Yeah, they all had all their outfits were different because of they all kind of were unique to whatever periods that they had already been stealing from.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't even think about it in that way. Like,
oh yeah,
all the places they had been visiting. Yeah, that they were taking. Like, to me, it just kind of seemed like it was cool design, but I don't know why it didn't even dawn on me. It's like, oh yeah, that's why he has like a Confederate hat. Like they were there.
One had Confederate hat. One had like a cowboy hat, like a Western, like the Old West kind of look.
Yeah, one guy had a pirate kind of hat or a.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I don't know why. Yeah, I like that the one guy had like a monocle. The main, or is it the main?
Randall.
Yeah, Randall had like the monocle. That was always something that I always like wanted to work into, like any design when I was in art school. It's like everybody needs like a monocle. Like this guy would, he's like using the monocle to go through the map or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
I mean, I guess how do they say it? Low key. I was kind of like I was always I liked the way he would use it, and then he would just kind of like open his eye a little bit, and
it would just fall. Yeah, and he had it like on a chain. Yeah.
I was like, man, that's just such a cool.
It's
I don't know, aesthetic.
Well, it's a cool
about it.
Yeah, it's a nice detail touch to something that adds to an adventurer, right? Like. It just makes it seem. I mean, it's like Indiana Jones. He's got a whip and he's got a hat and he's got like his aesthetics, right? Those two things were always attached to him, and in a very similar way. Like he's doing so much adventuring and reading of maps or whatever that he has to have like this little monocle thing or whatever. And so like I really like the outfits, and so I thought that was like a really cool aspect of that as well too. And that's another thing that I liked. And you'll notice that if you watch some of the other like Terry Gilliam, sort of movies, like just the overall style of everything is just, it's really like, I always say it's brave because it's out there and it's not commercial. Like it's just like, this is how a kid or this is how people would imagine things. And that's just kind of the way it is. Right. And he's like, and that's what I want. And I'm going to stick with that more than I will like make it aesthetically pleasing because that is like what people would expect. Cause like this is all stuff that I would not expect, right? As far as like how the adventurers are dressed. Like the one guy has like a horn, or he's got like a, like he's got a hat like that's got like one horn kind of coming out of it. And, yeah. I mean, it's just, it creates its own silhouette and its own style. And again, it kind of goes back to like, if it was a board game or just like a D&D game or something, like it would be a cool adventure game because they all have their own sort of look to them or whatever. I don't remember anything with Robin Hood. I thought that whole sequence was pretty funny. That was like maybe one of my more favorite sequences because of the fact that they're like, they run across these thieves and he's like, oh, these are like our people. And, and he's like, would you steal from a child? And he's like, give me the opportunity. Or like, would you, they're trying to think of the most heinous things that you could do. Like, would you kick a dog? And he's like, if he's got what I need, or whatever. And then it turns out that they're all like, they all work for Robin Hood. Which is funny because they all look like they're kind of dressed like them as well. And then John Cleese comes out as Robin Hood and he's like super squeaky clean. And I thought that was I thought the whole sequence was like really, really good because he kept doing the whole like, oh, jolly good. Like he'd shake their hand. And he's like, oh, that's
how long you been doing this? And he's like, I'm 4 foot something, and he's like, oh, that's a long time. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
It was just so
that was very like, Monty Python, like very like what?
Yes,
like what? Like it's just kind of out there, and then and it was funny because then he's like, oh, like all these things will be great for like the poor people and to distribute, and they're like, what? And he's like, yeah, no, like distributing all this wealth back to the poor because they don't have very much, and they were like, yeah, this is our stuff. And he's like, yeah, that's not how this works. But then like the very Monty Python of it, of like all the poor people are in line and are getting their wealth, I guess their piece of wealth. But then like the one guy just like punches everybody. Like it's part of like the whole, like that was very Monty Python. Like there's no reason for that guy. He's like, here you go. Here's a gold Voss or whatever. And then the one guy next to him just like punches the person. And then he's like, is that absolutely necessary? And like, I guess the other guy's like, yeah, unfortunately it is. And then there's like an old woman who comes and gets like a painting or something. And he's just like, boosh, like just punches and knocks out the old lady. I like, again, stuff like that. I remember as a kid because I was just like, I don't I'm not sure I understand it, but it is funny to see like an old woman get punched. I don't know, like it just.
It definitely didn't make sense back then. It was just. Some of that was a lot. Some of that was the stuff I didn't remember too much.
Yeah,
but,
no,
a young John Cleese. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. So.
Yeah, he's just has that style about him. Like, he looks like a goofball dressed as like Robin Hood with the giant like Robin Hood hat, which just adds like an extra layer of like, what the hell, like. I forgot that. I mean, I 100% forgot that. Like, or I actually, if you had told me like who's in this movie, if I had said if I had to pick, I never would have guessed that Sean Connery was in this movie. Like, I mean, granted,
I didn't remember him at all.
It not. I mean, it's almost like a cameo, really, than anything else. But I don't remember. I don't remember that sequence at all. Like the whole, I guess like. Athens or
ancient Greece.
Yeah, ancient Greece. I don't remember any of that, and it was funny because when he takes off his helmet, I was like, "Wait, who is that?" And then when he started talking, I was like, "Is that fucking Sean Connery?"
That's James Bond.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh man,"
and that's probably why. It's probably why we don't remember him because I mean we were too young. I mean, mom and dad were not going to let us watch James Bond stuff. That was adult action, sex and killings and stuff. So yeah, we weren't. We were not, I wouldn't say not allowed, but mom and dad kept us pretty shelter's not the right word either, but we were allowed to be kids.
We were censored. We were censored on certain things, which makes sense, right? Like probably even more so, I would say that they probably didn't let us watch that. I mean, we did at Theo Eddie's, but we didn't watch a lot of the James Bond stuff, partly because of the sex, not probably so much the violence, but also they were probably like, you guys are going to get bored. Like they knew what we liked and they knew that would have been boring to us. And honestly, until they started doing it with, like Moonraker and some of the more outlandish ones, like then it started grabbing our interest because then there was a little more action than there was like espionage and intrigue, like, and that was like what we like Roger Moore, that was like our James Bond. And it was because like he's flying in the moon and he's, doing all these other dumb things. So yeah, like Sean Connery, I was like, oh, who the fuck's Sean Connery? But man, he's really young in this. Like, it did not look like him. And like I said, I did not recognize him, even though I will say, going back to the whole video game aspect, like when they come to that area or that era, and you just see the guy in the metal mask fighting like a giant beast head other dude. I remember that like vividly. Like I remember the big, like what is that? Like a Minotaur mask or head. Yeah. That, I mean, as soon as that scene came on, I was like, oh shit, I remember this. Like, cause
I remember this.
Yeah. And that felt very D&D, like, this big hulking dude, just like battling another guy, hand to hand combat. And, again, very, very like aesthetically pleasing about everything in that sequence, like the giant Minotaur head, even like Sean Connery's like mask or helmet, like the gladiator style type helmet or whatever. All that stuff is super cool. And it really does remind me of like, when you're in your head imagining what a D&D like sequence would play out, right? This is like part of it, and so yeah, I thought that sequence was pretty cool. Everything that happens afterwards in the village and all of this, I don't remember any of that. Like I was like, oh
yeah, I don't remember
what?
any of that. He was
He's
gonna
a king?
like adopt him as his kid and this and that. And I was just like, I don't remember any of this.
Yeah. Which was, is fine. I think it adds obviously like to the child adventure or whatever, which is, obviously super cool. And the little people like sort of, find a portal and get him out. At some point somewhere in there, I think we get introduced to the Supreme. Well, I always forget. So he calls himself the Supreme Being. There's like the guy who has like his like underlings or whatever, and he says he's a Supreme being, right? But
well, no. He wants to.
He wants to be the supreme being.
He wants to be the supreme being.
Okay,
they
that's
just
right.
refer
That's
to
right.
him as evil.
Okay, that's right.
He's just referred to as evil. But he's always like talking crap and talking shit about the supreme being.
Okay, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was, again, from a conceptual standpoint and the kind of stuff that Terry Gilliam was thinking about at a different level. That, again, it's like, without explaining what that was, and we're having to kind of talk through it, but like that didn't upset me. Like, it wasn't like, wait, I don't understand who this guy is. Like, I just knew that he was the bad guy that was wanting to get what the little people had. Like, they had the map.
Yeah, he wanted the map.
He wanted the map.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, I don't need to be explained, like, the conceptual concept of what evil is, if he is all-encompassing evil. Like, I thought that actually kind of worked. Maybe as a kid, probably not so much. But even as a kid, though, I don't need to know more than he is the evil against what these adventurers want to do, right? It's as simple as that, right? If you're a kid, you just want to be against the odds, and it's an evil dragon, or it's an evil whatever. It's however you. And it's funny because, again, as an adult, the things that he was into as wanting to create evil was like he wanted to learn about computers and microprocessors and like effectively capitalism. He was like all-encompassing capitalism about how he wanted to take over the world and make things like consumerism. And so as an adult, I was like, oh man, that's a big concept for like little kids being like, who gives a shit about microprocessor? I don't even know what a microprocessor is. So I thought that whole sequence was kind of funny, but I also do think that was like a very very Monty Python sort of sequence and moment, like when that guy is talking and he's talking in, like I said, the stuff that he's talking about as far as like how he wants to rule the world is very Monty Python, but almost just as funny as like when he is exterminating, I guess, like his underlings or whatever, and they would just explode. And I was like, oh man, that's pretty hardcore, but that also feels very Monty Python, like for he just like shoots not even a laser blast, he just kind of like shoots something at them and then they literally explode. And that felt very like kind of like the exploding bunny or the holy hand grenade, or there was something about that whole sequence that I really like. I really like the representation of evil. For some reason, like things like that, like really, really resonated with me as a kid. And I miss this kind of stuff. Like when he's got like the well of water, and it's like it's effectively like a big brother, right? Like it's like this all-seeing eye or something,
like,
right?
It was like, that's how he was monitoring them.
Right. That's how he could see them. Yeah. But then like, just in the background, there's a bunch of like steampunk elements, right? With like a bunch of like pressure gauges, and there's all these hoses, and like the aesthetic, excuse me, there's the aesthetic of like the evil layer, instead of it being like just like fire and doom, like it was almost like steampunk technology, like sort of, I don't know, there was something like really aesthetically cool about it. And if you watch some of his other movies, you'll see it in there. But there are other movies that I've watched that I really like that have a very similar like look and feel to this. And for some reason, like it really drives the science fiction that I like. It really drives that aesthetic for me. Like it just immediately, I kind of like my eyebrow raises and I want to see more of it, because like it's almost like even the camera inside of there as it moves, there's things in front of the camera because this space is full of just stuff like wires and piping and just, there was something about the aesthetic that Terry Gilliam would do for this kind of like science fiction evil really resonated with me, and is still there to this day. That I'm always kind of looking for.
It's kind of like cyberpunkish mad scientist kind of vibe.
Yeah. Like gone wrong, instead of having like cyberpunk cool like LED technology, it's almost like it's like lo-fi version of cyberpunk like technology, like the opposite of something that would look cool. and always the lighting is like from underneath, and yeah, there's just something really, really kind of cool about that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess some of the other big highlights. I guess maybe one of the biggest highlights that I kind of remember that so when they're jumping through various like time sequences, and they talk about how the time travel works and how you have to kind of believe in making it work, but then they end up in. It's kind of funny because like they end up at sea. I forget like how that all like.
They were on. I don't remember how they got there, but they were on the Titanic.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. They
were in the water, and then they were like, that's when he starts talking about you just got to believe and blah blah blah.
That's right.
And then it kind of just while they're in the water, it gets like kind of foggish, and then all of a sudden there's the
pirate ship that has like an ogre on it, like. And
with a bad back.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but that's right. I don't know about you, but I remember drawing that pirate ship like in school because it was so kind of iconic. I mean, granted, I guess you could say it looks like any other pirate ship, but for some reason, and it's on the cover, which goes to
it's on the movie poster.
Yeah, on the movie poster, but it goes to the next point of after the pirate ship, but it's very like Flying Circus or very Monty Python, the way it's drawn.
Yeah.
And there's something like squishy about it. But even the way they built it, like in the real movie, like I remember kind of drawing that because it feels like a spaceship, even though like it is a pirate ship, and I guess maybe we didn't see a lot of those. We were kind of used to seeing the, I guess like the more classically drawn, ship where it's just like the deck and then the flags. But this one had like the big, I guess additional like rooms or whatever on the backside or something. Like it had a really weird.
Oh, like a big, what's the word? Like a galleon?
Yeah, like a galley or yeah. Like on the backside. But it was built like in a way that was almost like very, like it had a certain look to it because it belonged to this ogre, which is funny. Did you recognize the woman who was like the wife of the ogre? The red-haired lady.
Yeah. That was I when we were watching it, and I told Karen, I was like, oh yeah, Mona from Who's the Boss?
Yeah,
is in this, and she's like, who? And I watched Who's the Boss as a kid. I was like, I watched it for Alyssa Milano, but I always thought Mona was like she was like the freaky adult, and I was like fascinated by her.
Yeah, it's funny.
I was like, oh yeah, I knew who that was.
Yeah, it's funny because as it was kind of playing through, I was like, how do I know this woman? And then I was like, oh, that's right, that's the mom from, that would have been, I guess, her grandma, right? Alyssa Milano's grandma, because she was
Angela's mom.
Yeah. Even though she was like weird and horny and constantly like. She was like the opposite of Angela. So it was just kind of funny to see. But yeah, when she was in there, I thought that was pretty funny. I mean, it's funny too that like Shelley Duvall was in this, even though like she's listed as a main player, but like she's only in like maybe 2 or 3 sequences, and
she's like in three scenes, I think.
Yeah, and she plays different characters in different time periods.
Yeah, like in different time periods, but it's the same dude that's like in love with her, trying to get her to,
which again,
commit to a relationship or something.
Some of those jokes, it was like way over a kid's head, like where I don't remember, I forget which one, where she's talking to like her husband or her partner or whatever, and they're talking about like, oh, is the problem still like happening or something? And I assume they're talking about like ED or, erectile dysfunction or something. But when I was watching, I was like, wait, what? Like, what are they talking? And he's like, oh, no. Like, but it was funny because I don't know if that's exactly what they were making fun of, but also they were talking about how like, oh, well, something about like it only happens with fruit or something. I was like, wait, what? Like, and I think that's very Monty Python, like obscure humor of like, they're not exactly going to tell you what's happening. They're just going to leave it to your imagination, which is probably worse. Yeah. So yeah, those things were kind of funny, but man, the whole, I don't know if I have like, speaking of all the scenes and everything, for some reason, my favorite scene or my whole favorite sequence of this whole movie really was when the giant comes out of the water and is wearing the ship as a hat. Like,
Yeah.
I like, I don't know if it's just because that's how kids think of things. Like, you know, we're little and we want to see like giants. And so many times I remember like playing with like some of the toys. I mean, you know, well, Panchita didn't have a lot of toys for us to play with. So, I mean, they were literally like baby toys. Like they were like toys for infants, but we were like 7, 8, or 9 playing with like infant toys because that's all she had. But like those things would end up being like spaceships or things in my imagination. And so you lay on the floor, and so now the grass is like a jungle, or the grass is forests, you know, because you kind of squint your eye to give this perspective. And then like rocks are now like mountains and stuff. So when this giant comes out of the ground, I was like, man, that is such a kid thing to be like, that is like a hat that he's wearing. Or, I mean, that whole sequence is just,
it's so out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It just, I mean, because like, you know, they're on the ship, and you know, it was I don't know what to equate it to, but I just remember the same thing. I just like when the giant comes out and they show him walking all slow, you know, and it was like, it would just seem like such a cartoonish thing, but like in live action. But it was, you know, and it's like, you know, you just see him walking towards the shore. And they have that little house with, I don't know what was in it, but like there's people arguing like a husband and wife.
Yeah.
And it's like, you haven't made the whatever. And then, like they're just arguing back and forth. And then you just see it coming, and it's like, you know what's going to happen.
Right. And they have no idea.
Man, I was like, fuck, I remember this.
Yeah.
And I was just, but that whole sequence was one that stuck with me for, you know, whatever reason.
And oddly, like, fits really well in this movie for some reason, at least for me. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I guess you could say it doesn't make sense. Like, if you're just talking about, like, if we're just randomly talking about this movie and people are like, oh yeah. And then there's like a sequence with a giant, and it's like, wait, what does it have to do with time? Like when in time were there giants? And it's like, you know what? That's not really the point. Like, I guess you could say maybe instead of Time Bandits, it could have been called what do you call it? Like it was like a different universe, but like the same universe, like a different dimension or something, right? Yeah. But again, like that's not the like. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. It's the imagination and just the imagination of a child, right? Because I think in the end, if I think I maybe understood sort of what the idea of this movie was supposed to be, is like we're just living through a kid's like adventure fantasy in his head, especially with the way that it ends. And I assume that's what we're supposed to feel. And that's why this feels like that sequence with the giants makes sense for me, because I wanted to see that as a kid. You know what I mean? Like, I imagined, you know, like, I mean, you and I probably played with G.I. Joes at some point where we put them on the ground and we are the giants and we'd crush them with our feet. And so we're seeing it through the perspective of the G.I. Joes, like upward, right? Who doesn't want to see that? Right. And the fact that we're seeing it, it's like, oh, that's cool, even though, what the hell? Like, what is this? Like, why is it happening?
If we're living through the kids' like imagination, basically,
right?
There's no like there isn't some storyboard that we do for our dreams,
right?
You know, I mean, it's like it's just random shit just comes up in a dream. You know, when you're a kid, you know, I mean, he was practically living alone. You know, referencing back to the parents in the beginning, it was kind of like, all right, off to bed. You know, we're watching our TV show. Like, you know, we've got all our, you know, they were all, it just completely consumed by the whole you know, consumerism. I had all the trinkets, and they were like, you know, sit down and watch TV, and just, you know, they were just neglecting the kid basically. So it was like, go to bed. You know, turn off the lights, go to bed. We don't want to, you know, shoo. And he was pretty much just, you know, living in his own world because he was just by himself. And then he goes on this adventure, and then, you know, and I think a lot of it, I guess I had that aha moment, because at the end when they're fighting evil, and then when they're in that whole sequence, And then I was like, that looks like a big ass Lego.
Yeah.
You know, like the building. And I started looking, I was like, oh, and that's a chessboard. I was like, oh, okay, hold on. Yeah, he is just dreaming all this shit.
Right.
Because now it's like, you know, that's like when we would build our whatever with Legos. And you would just kind of play with whatever toys.
Right.
So as the cowboys show up, and then the tank shows up, and then the Roman archers or whatever show up. But it's like basically when you get all your toys,
right?
You know,
in
like,
the
you know, it
yeah.
doesn't like you. Yeah, you're just playing with all your shit at the same time. It doesn't matter. It's not all just your GI Joes. You got your GI Joes and your Green Army Men and your Legos, and you're making a world. You're world building,
right?
You know,
with what you got.
Why, yeah.
Well, and that's why the tank. It's funny because you know why the tank was there, right? And it speaks to what you were just saying. Okay, so
what I miss.
So in the very beginning, when they're panning through the kid's room, he has a toy tank, and it is a Sherman tank. And so you're exactly right, and I didn't even think about that because I do remember seeing that Lego shaped thing there. And you're right, like he's effectively having that in the end. And so the reason why the tank shows up is because there's probably a cast iron tank in his room in the very beginning. You see it just briefly when they're kind of doing the opening montage of like the camera panning across the room. Right. And so you're 100% right. I didn't even think about that. Like to me, that really, you just saying all that has really like changed some perspective on this movie, because not to say that I didn't understand what's happening. I clearly knew that this is a kid's imagination adventure, but now that you're calling out some of those visuals at the end, it even ties it more together. Because I was like, oh, the tank must be something that he thought about. Like I was expecting Sean Connery and his gang to show up or something as well too. But
right.
But I think, like, you know, regardless, I think it really like sums up like the sort of the whole aspect of this movie, because I really love that ending when everything just kind of comes together in this sort of like
the final, the big big final boss battle.
Yeah.
But you know, now that I was saying that, I was remembering it happens really quick, but at the end when I mean, obviously we're getting to the end of the movie, but
yeah.
So when he wakes up and the apartment or the house is on fire. Oh, and then the firefighters walk in. When the firefighters run in, there's a quick, they like it happens real quick, but like on the floor when they're rescuing the kid, Kevin.
Yeah.
When they're running out, all the Legos and the tanks and all the shit is on the floor, like where he was playing. Oh. If you go back and watch it, it's like they step over that shit. Obviously, they're in a rush to get out.
Right.
But I'm almost positive that at the end, there's a quick glimpse of like a bunch of toys on the floor. And they kind of step on the shit to get it, to go get him. Yeah. And there's Legos and there's tanks. There's a tank there.
Sure.
Like all the stuff that happens at the end is on the floor right there, like by his bed.
Yeah, you're right. And it's funny because like, what was the cause of the fire? It was the mom had
the toaster oven thing or whatever.
Right. Which had a piece of evil in it, even though that could have been like a ham or something, even though I guess it adds to that final adventure, because I kind of find it a little shocking, like what happens to the parents at the very end, where it's like
so fucked up, dude. I don't even know.
But see, it kind of
totally forgot about this shit.
It kind of questions, like, wait, did that even really happen? Like, did the whole fire thing even happen? Or
right.
You could even go darker to say, like, well, the kid actually died in the house fire, but this is all the stuff that he remembered or something, if you want to go like super dark kind of.
That's some big conspiracy theory shit there.
Well, yeah, just because like, he still has the pictures, like the Polaroid pictures that he takes.
That's the pictures at the end is like, it's hard to like, did it really happen or did it like, I mean, because clearly, I was led to believe towards the end, I was like, okay, he's dreaming. He dreamt all this. This didn't really happen.
Right.
But then, he only pulls out the pictures because he sees the firefighter that looks like Sean Connery. Was it Agamemnon?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when he starts going through his pictures, and he's like, "What the?" He's like, "Hold up!" And he sees, he's like, "No, that is him."
Right.
And so he's like freaking out. But then, so like there's they like you're wanting like you're left to believe that there was some reality going on there. But there was imagination and stuff going on. But then when the parents, basically just, eat it at the end, I was just like, I don't know what to make of that. Like, and because he's left there kind of like, okay, I'm by myself now.
Yeah.
And the fire truck just drives away. And I was like, what the
Well, see, and again, yeah. But then the camera pans back out from like the suburbs. So again, it's almost like
the way it started. Yeah.
The way it started. So it kind of makes me think like, wait, maybe not. Like maybe this didn't actually happen. And we're just thinking about the adventure of what could be, or I don't know, or something. But like again, I feel like that's what I like about this movie is like, there's not a lot that explains exactly what is happening. But maybe it did happen, or I don't know, or it's a continued adventure or whatever. Or maybe it is part of like the trilogy, like you were saying earlier. Or like, again, if you want to go dark, right? If you want to go in that dark direction of like, maybe this is how kids without parents actually like fantasize like some of these things, right? That if I wish I didn't have parents, they were never really there for me because maybe they died when they were young, or they died and I was still young, or maybe like they were adopted or something. They just didn't have parents, and this is how they transpose like some of that to deal with some of these things. Like maybe it could be a number of these things, but what I love is that it's not like all put there for us to have to be told, oh, this is why you're seeing this imagery because, this kid is having these emotional issues. It's like, no, fuck that. It's an adventure and it's fun. Like the camera zooms out from the suburbs, out of like the suburb into Earth and then into the galaxy. And then that turns into the map, like the time bandit map.
Well, I mean, I guess if you think about it, I guess, when it was zooming in to begin the movie, that's basically like the point of view of the supreme being zooming into the smallest,
creation, one of the smallest creations that he made.
Yeah, the smallest creations, and kind of like lets this whole little scenario play out.
Right.
Dare I say, for his entertainment.
Right.
But, and then when it zooms back out, it's like, okay, well, that's just like all the little things that are happening in this, and the supreme being is like, okay, well,
no, you're right. You might definitely be onto that because, we didn't really talk about like before the whole fireman sequence when he wakes up, but like when the supreme being does show up and talks about how like, oh, well, this was all an experiment anyways. Like I had to put evil in, and you understand that, right? Because like you have to have evil in order to have balance. And like, this very intelligent level of like, if there was a God or if there is a God, and how all that plays into like, do we have free choice and free will? And he talks about that. The supreme being does. Yeah. Right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like, the more we talk about it, it's like, this actually gets deeper and deeper and deeper if you really want to talk about it, which probably makes sense why this is like Criterion Collection, like movie, because it's probably way more brilliant than we even realize. Like, because we haven't seen it in a very, very long. I mean, this is the first time I've seen this, I would have to say, since high school or junior high or something. Like, but I remember watching it a lot when we were younger, whether it was because it was on HBO a lot or we rented it or something. But
HBO was, I think, the main culprit,
probably,
which is why I think I was fascinated by it. It was one of those movies like at our age. It's like every time it was on, we were watching it.
Yeah,
it was definitely one of those movies where like Dad would see us. We'd be all in front of the TV in the living room. He's like, "Y'all watching that again?"
Yeah.
I remember there was multiple movies where like we'd get that. Like, why are you watching that again?
Yeah. Aren't you guys bored with that already? And it's like, yeah, and it's like, no, we're not. Like, I can continue to watch this. So yeah. I mean, I'll be real honest. Like, I may pick this up now because I watched this on HBO Max because it was on there, but I almost like want to pick it up now because if there's behind the scenes or if there's like additional, like whatever, if there's like stuff that I want to know more about, like I'm almost kind of interested because again, like they don't make movies like this anymore. I kind of really wish they would. That all said, they did make a Time Bandits TV series. on Apple TV.
I inadvertently discovered that when I was looking for a little more research before the movie.
Yeah.
When I was actually looking for it to watch it.
And I'm intrigued. And but it already was canceled after one season.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was like, that'd be interesting. And then I saw that it was canceled. I was like, oh, okay, I guess not enough people thought it was interesting.
Well, and I'm curious, right? Because unfortunately, I think as much fun as this movie was to rewatch, I do not think a younger audience would understand this movie, and I also don't know how that would translate to like a remake or a reimagining. I mean, I'm curious now, and I kind of want to see it just to see what I think, because I do like it has Lisa Kudrow in it, and it has Taika Waititi, the guy.
Involved,
and that guy, I like that guy a lot. Like, he's always, if there is like a modern day Terry Gilliam sort of thinking type person, maybe he's kind of that, but I don't think at the same level of what Terry Gilliam's sort of like aesthetic and thought process was. So, I mean, this was a lot of fun.
You could get a lot. He was able to get away with a lot more shit back then.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot more PC stuff you got to factor in, and,
and
all that shit.
Yeah, and
not to offend people, and
so much gets dumbed down for audiences of like, no, you got to explain what time travel is, and you got to explain like. Yeah, this movie does not explain things. And I mean, that kind of even goes like, I don't know why they have little people in this movie. It just seemed to make sense. Like, I mean, it's giving work to people that were little people during the time period. And I don't know if there's like a reason why, because it seems like in the more current one, there aren't any little people or their children or whatever. Right. So I don't know if that's like the PC approach or whatever, but I feel like it's more, again, there's no explanation for that, and I don't need it. Like, and I didn't necessarily think that they were like funny because they were little people. It just seemed to make sense that little people would make for good bandits, like, especially if they're traveling through time, you know? But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's like I said, I'll be interested. I'll probably give it a test to see what I think of that series, you know, probably not right away, but I'm curious to see how a reimagining of that could work. But even in my mind, I'm already thinking like, there's no way they can match what this movie was, because the movie itself, I think, was very brave in just being what it is and unapologetic. You know, it's just like, you're these, you know, adventurers come out of the closet and we're off, you know. And nowadays it'd be like, wait, how did you do that? And it probably going to be like, well, you see, every universe has a time riff, and it's like, I don't need that. I don't care. Like, you know, I just want to have fun, you know? And so I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong, but if they've already canceled it, it's probably because they probably didn't want to take that risk of obscure, like non-traditional IP that, you know, streaming studio can make money off of. But that's that. What do you think? Is this movie a top shelf video? You're going to go first this week because you picked this one, but also I'm very curious because this movie, I mean, I feel a little different now after we talked about it like out loud and looking at my notes and stuff, you know?
I'm just going to say yes.
Okay.
I'm going to say yes. And I think a lot of it has to do with, maybe not, you know, I think it has more to do with, I just remember, I have good memories as a kid with this movie. You know, like I just remember it being a fun adventure.
Right.
And just, you know, I wasn't too wrapped up in plots or anything, but it's like, you know, like Top Shelf Video has those videos have a special meaning or a story behind them or whatever. So, you know, little bias or whatever. And this one kind of fits. For me, it fits. I just remember feeling good about the adventure and you know, it just. I was kind of like the kid Kevin. I mean, not being pushed away by the parents, but the his fascination for history. You know, like on his wall, he had knights and pictures of, you know, like he was all about history and stuff like that.
Right.
And I think I've always been that kid. You know.
Yeah.
And so I think I could kind of relate to that kid.
Yeah.
Who wanted to had this crazy imagination and would have adventures in his head, in his room. I mean, I had, he was a single kid or only child. I had you and Mario. I mean, so we had ourselves, when mom and dad were both working, because we grew up in that era where it was, both working parents, and so a lot of times it was, I wouldn't say fend for ourselves, but we could entertain ourselves easily, go outside, have our own adventures, and all that stuff. So like this just resonated with me as far as like the kid point of view,
right?
And I just was really wanting to watch this movie again to revisit that.
Sure.
Yeah. And yeah, I finished the movie. The credits were going up, and I felt happy.
Right.
Again, I mean, I caught more the adult intended jokes, and so there was like it kind of like it got a little. I got a little more meat on the bone this time around because I got the jokes now. Yeah. And but the adventure part of it, the pirates and Napoleon and the Robin Hood and the fighting with the Minotaur, and all that stuff, and then the big boss battle at the end. I mean, that was the kid side of me that was just like, yeah, that's cool. I remember this. So yeah, for me, it's top shelf.
So it's funny. I'll sort of, I guess you could say, like, talk through my thinking process here, because I will say, like, when I was done with it yesterday, my first thought was like, no, I don't think this is a top shelf video. But as we talked about it, and I think the thing that just sold it to me, because I just pulled up the video so I could look at it one more time, and like I always knew that I knew that this is like this is a child's adventure. Like we're seeing this through the eyes of the child, but when I did not notice the layout as the firemen are there, and I just looked at that little clip just now, and it is there, and it is literally the scene at the end. And we've had those moments like where we play with our toys, right? Like we had the generic G.I. Joes from Mexico that we would buy and bring them over, and we would play with whatever toys we had.
Action Force.
Yeah. Or
so whatever the hell it was called.
Action it would just
don't knock on those flea market buys.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, we got quality skateboards with ninjas and
even that we had the luchadora like Mexican wrestlers that we would buy.
Oh yeah,
that
and the ring with the rubber bands and shit.
The ones that were basically like plastic mold, like reprints or whatever. But like we would have all those things that we would play with together. It wasn't like we only played with G.I. Joes or whatever. We played with whatever we had. And
I mean, in our director minds, it would have been ideal.
Exactly.
Because I remember I always wanted to buy a collection of like the Cobra soldier, because I wanted to have Cobra, like I wanted to have a platoon of Cobra soldiers to fight against our G.I. Joe heroes, but you can't afford that shit,
Right.
I mean, even back then when they were like $3.99, but it was like, one, you couldn't find them, because every kid wanted G.I. Joes, and so like trying to build an army, that shit wasn't happening.
Right.
But so we would make do with the bad guys were always the luchadores and the action force guys, the no name figures,
or even
were like the bad guys,
or even like salt shakers and things like that were like robots or whatever. So all that to say, like looking at the end sequence and how all this plays out, and just the imagery of like so much of the stuff here, like this actually probably does need to be a top shelf video, even though like it requires a level of explanation, but not in the, let me tell you what this movie's about. What it really is more is like, if somebody wanted to rent this, it would have to be like, this is a movie that you should probably watch with like, maybe not as young as we were, like, but maybe like the teenager kid, and like encouraging like exploring and encouraging like when I guess when I say exploring, like not physical adventure exploring, but like imagination of like reading about history, and then thinking of like scenarios that would come up in history, or like if you're a D&D family, like this makes a lot of sense to watch as a D&D family, to go like, wouldn't it be cool to have a campaign that takes place in an alternate like Napoleon period, or an alternate, Titanic period, or whatever, just like
Yeah.
that is really what this movie kind of feels like. It's like we're tearing into the fabric of history, but in a way that we want to apply it, like it makes learning fun, if that's like a weird way to say it. But because I was with you, right? Like I wanted to be a history teacher, or at least I thought maybe I wanted to be a history teacher, because I liked
talking about that.
I liked reading about all those things, and learning about history and this and that, and not just things that that we learned in school, but it was like there's bound to be other things that in other like cultures and stuff that we would kind of learn about. And I feel like that's what this movie kind of touches on, because this has a very like, or I mean, it's a very British angle, because everything that they're looking at, like nothing takes place in the United States, with the only touch point being the Titanic. But even then, the Titanic didn't even, like, if I remember correctly, it didn't leave dock from the U.S. It was like somewhere in Europe, if I'm not mistaken, but it was a U.S. ship. I don't remember, but they don't like this. There's not a lot of things in here that are like speak to American. I mean, it's like Napoleon, and then like the medieval times and some of those other things, like everything that was not that. And as I look at like the cover, or like the movie poster for this, where there's like a grid with like holes in the grid, and like things are coming out of the grid, and like it's almost like those are the portals that are kind of coming in and out. They're talking about how they can jump. In the movie, they talk about how they can jump between the portals and the time periods and all that stuff. Like it's one of those movies where it's like, yeah, this is a top shelf video, but like you need to understand like that you have to open your mind to watching a movie where you don't need everything explained to you. Like, just enjoy this movie for what it is. Like, just take it in. Don't really question too much, but also leave your mind open to the fact of what you are seeing. And I think at the very least you can, if we're renting this out, we can say like, just think of this as like a wild adventure of a child's crazy imagination, and that's it. And just go with that, right? And like, don't that just means that nothing is grounded in reality. Like, even though it's based around the kid's thought of like, well, I've heard about Napoleon in school, so I'm thinking about that, and this and that and whatnot. So yeah, I agree with you. Like, there's probably a reason why this is like a Criterion. Why Criterion put this out on their label, because I think this is probably a more important movie than we probably realized when we were like young. But yeah, I feel like it definitely like earns a place like on our shelf as well too.
Right.
Did you watch this on HBO also, or did you watch like, I guess, like some sort of high resolution version?
I found it on man, I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
It was on one of the
streaming
free to watch.
Yeah.
It was it wasn't Tubi, but it was one of those, Tubi adjacent.
Yeah, I definitely think, and with regards to like having this like in the store, like I probably would just be fine with seeing this like in a 4K, if they have a 4K disc of this. I don't even know. I didn't look, but if there's a 4K disc of this, or like a Blu-ray. But clearly the fact that Criterion has put it out, with like their, I would imagine they probably did some sort of scanning of it or something. But yeah, I think that having this in the best, like whatever the best resolution is, it does look like there is a 4K version of this, but also like the Criterion 4K, it's got a really cool cover. Well, it has the classic like poster cover for this, but yeah, no, I think that's probably the best way to have it, because I feel like it's important to see it and watch it with like really good audio and video. There's probably a nostalgic reason for watching it in VHS, but like at the same time, it's like it's best to like really appreciate everything that's in this than like what we took in as like young people. Like, we just didn't realize how like
Right.
way ahead of its time, you know, that this was for what it is, you know. But yeah, so before we jump to like any things that we'll want to add to the store based around this, because I have some thoughts on what we could do there. We asked in the last episode, you know, like if we had to pick somebody from this movie to work in the store, who would we pick? It's kind of funny because I was thinking about this as I was watching this, and I was like, well, you know, age aside, you know, if we wanted to pick Kevin, the little kid, you know, we could do that. But I was like, just, it's not because like he's a kid. It's just like, what would he bring to the store? Like what sort of, you know, what skill set or what, you know, what sort of, anything does he bring? And, it was kind of funny because I kind of went through a couple and I was like, well, maybe Robin Hood, John Cleese's Robin Hood, because like, you know, he's kind of funny and witty. But then it was kind of funny because at the end I forgot how, excuse me, not sad, but kind of like it kind of gets a little serious towards the end, I guess. Like when one of the heroes of the troop, like what's his name? He was let me find his name. Fidget. Kenny Baker, the guy who was R2D2. Mm-hmm. His character like almost dies at the end. I mean, technically, I guess he kind of does.
Well, no, he does die at the end.
And then the Supreme Being,
he gets crushed by the stone.
Yeah.
He's like, well, we can't have that. And then he just kind of, you know,
snaps his fingers and brings him back. But like his buddy Wally, like I guess his really good friend Wally, who is one of the little people with like the curly hair, was like super like he was super like passionate about like not letting Fidget die. And he was also one of like when they're doing the big escape thing towards the end there. Like, I don't know, there was something that I just liked about Wally's character. Like he was just, I mean, I also liked his hat, if I'm just being like completely honest, because he would have to wear the hat. Like if he's going to work in the shop, he's got to bring the hat, like, which is that pirate hat that's got like the skull and crossbones, but it's also got the flared out sides or whatever. But he I don't know, he just strikes me as like, if Wally was like super into like horror or super into like action, he would be passionately about it. So like if he was trying to sell like something to customers, he'd be like, no, like, you know, you got to understand Jean-Claude Van Damme was like the guy who like, he is the pivotal of like action movies of the 80s. And he would just like, he would like passionately argue
he
would
die on his hill.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's what it is. He'd find a hill and he would just like put his flag down and be like, I'm dying on this hill. Like, I don't care, you know, I don't care what you say. But yeah, so I would pick Wally to work at the shop. Like I said, you know, just because of his passion. I assume his passion would translate to like intense knowledge for like a genre or a particular like type of film or something. What do you got?
I would. You know, when you reminded me that's like this was a thing. Like, who would we want? And I mean, it was like the first one you said. That was my pick. I want John Cleese as Robin Hood to be our customer service guy behind the counter.
Yeah,
to just be like, you know, like, oh, what are you returning? Oh, that's nice. Okay, well. You know, I'd want him to be behind the counter. Just,
what? You're right. I think because like if someone came to the counter and they were renting like, I don't know, like a Gladiator, you know, or something with Russell Crowe, and he's like, oh, you movies about gladiators, jolly good, you know, like he would
exactly.
He'd be happy about anything that you were renting, and he would like compliment you on like how it's a great choice, good choice, jolly good choice, like. But then much like in the movie, as soon as the customers leave, he's like, man, what an idiot. Like, cause you remember like when the little people, like the whole band leaves and he's like, man, what a bunch of weirdos. Or I forget what he says, But as soon as they leave, he like talks shit, to them as soon as they're out the door.
Yeah, people walk out and be like, that was a terrible pick.
Yeah, he'd be like, oh man, who watches that?
Atrocious.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I could see that. It's a good, it's a pretty good contrast between those two. Yeah, I think those two would make pretty good employees, and they wouldn't be too much hassle to work with. They'd probably actually be fun to work with, to be honest. Like the more I think about it, like if you're trying to get some deep cuts out of Wally, and I'm sure like Robin Hood would have like some of his like thoughts as well too. But as far as merch goes, like I mean, obviously I think we have to have the poster. Like that poster is pretty epic. And so I feel like we have to have that, for sure.
Right.
But I do feel that like, so I think one thing that I would like is, like a popcorn bucket hat that is the pirate ship. Like you can wear it and it's like kind of, you pick your, like you reach up to the top of your head and you grab the popcorn that you can eat out of that pirate ship. But you have to wear it like the giant, like, so it's got like the straps on the sides or whatever, sort of thing. But definitely have to, and you could, I think even in the back where the galley is, you could have like an area for nacho cheese. So like maybe you could just have that with like chips on the side or something. So you're kind of like dipping cheese in the back, where the where that whole back part of it is, and hell, you could even put like a little. Because it's got like I forget what they're called, but like the little pointy part of the ship that comes out on the front. Like you could probably put like your, your hot dogs or something like on the front, like you could skewer it, sort of thing. So, I mean, this thing's like multifunctional sort of, I mean, granted, I don't know if you would still wear it on your head if you had a hot dog and all that stuff, but at least the popcorn at the very least, Yeah. So, that's one of the things that I would probably want on there.
Yeah, I think I would just push for like the map, the map that they use, but like on cloth, give it some, so it's like kind of bound in leather, it'd be, I mean, it'd definitely be like an art piece. It'd probably be one of the more pricier things in our inventory, I would think. 'Cause it would be, a nice material, bound in like a leather bound case, kind of thing.
I mean, honestly, I could see that for D&D players, right? Like you lay it out to put like you can roll dice on it or whatever. Like if you have like a table that you want to lay that out. But yeah, you're right, because they show that at the very end, like the guy, or I guess I assume the Supreme Being, after the camera like zooms all the way out, and then he rolls the two ends together and takes the map, and it does look pretty cool. Like I was like, oh man, that is pretty awesome. Like, that would make a cool mouse pad also, like a cool.
Oh yeah.
Top,
like a full keyboard, full desktop foam. Oh man, damn,
that could be the cheaper. That could be the cheaper version. Like, because I agree with you, you have to have the nice leather bound, like collector edition that you use for very specific things, whether it's your D&D or whatever.
Right.
But then like the cheaper version we can have is the mouse pad, like the giant, like you said, the table size mouse pad or whatever, I think would be a good one.
Yeah, but yeah, man, now you already got me thinking about like actual stuff for the one day, hopefully actual, merch on our website. Because if we were like the Time Bandits map on like it'd have to be a little bit more rectangular.
Yeah.
To get the right ratios and stuff. But, an extra long mouse pad.
Yeah.
That would, I think I've seen the ones where it's kind of like a combo where like you can put your keyboard and your mouse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A little bit,
Yeah,
but
they're
if it's something
real
like
wide.
something like that would give us the ratio that we would need for a map like that to make it a mouse pad.
Yeah.
An extra large mouse pad with the map of Time back. Oh shit, man. I'm going to write that down for real. That's like, that's going to be. We need to find some high resolution pictures of that map.
Well, I'm sure it could be recreated if even to the correct.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
The correct ratio or whatever, but so those two things. I was trying to think. there's a lot of cool stuff I liked about the Supreme Bean, but I don't know how that would be like a merchandisable item. Like, I don't know. There's just something cool about his silhouette. Like, I wish we could somehow work that into something. I mean, I don't know. I feel like with all the devices and stuff that was in his lair. Oh, that was okay. So this would also be extremely elaborate. But do you remember, like, it's in the final fight with the not the Supreme Being,
with Evil,
when they're fighting Evil, and then the cowboys show up, and then like everyone's trying to use their skills or whatever,
their signature
right?
thing.
Yeah. And so the cowboys try to use their lassos, and they lasso the Evil, but then like he starts spinning, and then like spins quickly. And then the thing comes out of his head, and then there's like a blade on it, and it cuts again, like super elaborate, but really cool, and probably something that a kid would come up with, because children don't have filters like we do as adults. Like, children don't care because they have not really been told what, no, don't come up with that idea. That's dumb. Like, that doesn't make sense. The children don't have that concept. It's us as adults that tell them, no, that doesn't make sense. Don't come up with ideas like that. And that's what I like about that sequence. And so I feel like, and then, so like he's spinning and his head opens, and then a blade comes out of his head and cuts the rope, and then it comes back in and closes, and then he's back to fighting again. I feel like that can somehow be some sort of like, air popper or something. Like, you remember like when they used to make those air popcorn things, and I feel like again, this is very elaborate and would require like an engineer, but I feel like the upper head of Evil, you could see it, and you put your seeds like into the head, and you kind of close the top or whatever, and then as it starts popping, like the little dome sort of comes out of the top, and you can see all the popcorn like pop in, and it sort of starts coming out, and then it spills, or you got to put it into a bucket or something like that. But I can see this very elaborate like sort of popcorn popper that is Evil, because I loved like the sculpture of him, and like the weird shapes on his head, and it's like part like leather, but then there's like skull, like it almost looks like what was it, the thing from Alien and Aliens, the face hugger. It almost looks like a face hugger on his head with the skeletal thing, and then there's like a tube or something out of his back. So just the upper silhouette of him looks like a popcorn popper to me, or some sort of device like that. You know what I mean? So like, this is a very,
that was almost some Hellraiser level shit right there at the end.
Yeah. And I love it. Like, I think that's really cool, creative, like sort of mechanism sort of stuff. So I can see that. I think that would be kind of a very elaborate, like kind of cool thing. I mean, outside of that, I think like, I don't know, like I like their hats quite a bit. Like, I feel like I don't know if we have to sell all their hats, but like between Wally's pirate hat and then like, I forget what the one of the little person is, but he's got like that, like I said, it's kind of like he's got one horn coming out of the side of his hat, but it almost feels like something you could drink out of, like, I mean, even the, I guess I was, what was the other guy? Well, Wally had like the hat, the cool hat, but then, what was his name? I mean, everybody had like a really cool look. So I don't know, maybe one of those hats, I guess like Strutter, he had like kind of like a bowler hat, which was kind of cool. And he was the guy that had like a bowler hat, but he also had like the reader glasses. I mean, I don't know, like, I don't know. It's just cool. Like, I don't know what, I don't know if you can necessarily sell just coolness, but like, there's something very cool about like their outfits. If we could sell their outfits, I would want to sell those, but, So I don't know. I think I think maybe like some sort of like, just like a stopwatch or something that says like Time Bandits, and then like Top Shelf Video, Time Bandits or something like that. Something that's something that's just kind of maybe related to time. So maybe some like generic watch kind of things. But yeah, I don't know. There's just there's so much cool aesthetic about this that I really like it. So, but I think the things that we were thinking there would probably be more than enough. I don't know. The only other thing I can think of, because I just like stationery, is like I think we'd have some cool notepads that would be like, again, like if you're making a grocery list, right? Like it would be like a notepad with sort of the screen print of like the time map. It's sort of in the background, but then you write like your grocery list on it or something, and it's like in a pad, or something like that. Like, right. Just something kind of cool like that or whatever. But yeah, no, I think that probably covers, most of what we would need in the store. But yeah, no, this was it was kind of funny. I was not sure what to think of this one, and after having watched it, and it being a really long time since I watched it, and funny enough, yes. Like I've seen other, like I said, I've seen other Terry Gilliam films, and for some reason I don't know. I just didn't really think that this was like in his repertoire, even though, like, I mean, obviously it is. It's just, I think of like Brazil and Monty Python and The Holy Grail and like The Meaning of Life and some of those other movies. But yeah, this was, and 12 Monkeys, that's like a good one. But yeah, no, this was a lot of fun to revisit. So yeah, this is a good pick on your front. So yeah, let's stick with the theme of stuff that really had some core memories for us. So I think we got some good ones lined up that we're gonna go over as the months kind of go on. So
oh yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, well, I guess unless you had anything else to add, we're always looking for feedback. We always love, when we get people reaching out and giving us like some feedback. So if you have any feedback, you can email us at topshelfvideopodcast@gmail.com, or you can go to Instagram, where we do, I guess that's where like the bulk of our stuff is there. You can also go to the website, obviously, like topshelfvideo.com. And you can message us there. Yeah,
it does have all the links to all the episodes there also.
Yeah, yeah. Everything's archived there. We keep those. Yeah. Feedback. Drop us a note. Leave us a comment. Rate and review us on whatever format. I guess whether it's Spotify or YouTube or wherever you're, listening to us, like leave us a comment, review us. It always kind of helps. But yeah, if there's anything you would want to suggest, let us know. Or if you're interested in being an employee, definitely let us know. And we'll take a look at your application and maybe we'll discuss, we've got some openings. We definitely don't want to work every shift ourselves, so it's helpful to get some more people in the shop. This was a good rewatch. But yeah, we got to put away some tapes. We got to get some other stuff in order. So let's get back to it and make sure that we get this one logged in and put in the top shelf. But until then, I guess we will catch everybody at the next work shift.
Alrighty. See ya.
All right, man. See ya.